The lights of Genoa City have flickered before, from blackouts to bombshells, from romantic implosions to corporate coups, but this is something different, something stranger, something that's making even the most devoted Young and Restless fans lean in, squint at the screen, and mutter, wait, who exactly are we looking at right now? Because if you've felt like one of your favorite characters has been acting a little off lately, too calm, too cold, or too chaotic, you're not alone. Viewers everywhere are buzzing about what may be the most mind-bending, emotionally charged storyline Y&R has teased in years, a full-blown identity crisis, teetering between psychological thriller and soap opera masterpiece. And yes, we're talking possible split personality, or cloning, or brainwashing, or maybe something even darker that not even Victor Newman could see coming. So grab your coffee or your martini, we're not judging, and let's dig into this wild, whisper-filled tale of hidden selves, secret traumas, and the question that's got everyone saying, what the actual bleep is happening in Genoa City? The setup. When familiar faces start acting unfamiliar. It started, as all good Y&R mysteries do, with a look. A pause. A flicker of confusion behind the eyes of a character we thought we knew, someone steady, someone predictable. Maybe it was Lily, the rock-solid executive who suddenly started losing track of meetings. Maybe it was Adam, whose simmering resentment turned oddly introspective. Or maybe it was Sharon, whose once bright empathy dimmed just slightly, as if she were trying to remember who she was supposed to be. At first, the fans thought it was subtle writing, a layered performance, a quiet character study. Then came the inconsistencies, the forgotten memories, the conversations that didn't quite align with past storylines, the strange music cues that made longtime viewers uneasy. And finally, that haunting teaser. Sometimes the person in the mirror isn't the one you think. Cut to static, cut to gasps, cut to message boards lighting up like Christmas morning. Clues from the past. Genoa City's long history of doppelgangers and mind games. Let's be real, this isn't Genoa City's first identity rodeo. Remember when Sheila Carter pretended to be Phyllis? Or when Jack had that near breakdown trying to prove he wasn't his scheming doppelganger? Or the time Sharon, battling her own demons, wondered whether she'd lost touch with reality entirely? If there's one thing the Young and the Restless loves as much as a forbidden romance or a hostile takeover, it's the idea that someone might not be who they say they are. But what makes this storyline different, and why it's got everyone whispering, split personality, is how personal it feels. This isn't about masks or schemes. It's about psychological fractures. About someone who may literally be fighting themselves. The theory that's breaking the internet, dissociative identity disorder, or something sinister. Soap fans have seen everything from amnesia to alien abduction, okay, maybe not on Y&R, yet, but the current clues point to something much more grounded and human, and therefore, way scarier. Could one of Genoa City's beloved residents be suffering from dissociative identity disorder? Did fans on Reddit and X, formerly Twitter, think so? Threads are filled with screenshots of subtle changes in body language, a different walk, a new tone of voice, a wardrobe shift from one day to the next. One eagle-eyed viewer even noticed a specific piece of jewelry disappearing and reappearing between scenes, suggesting a deliberate hint from the costume department. And if the show is going there, they're doing it with a shocking amount of precision. The pacing has been deliberate. The emotional beats, raw. There's even a hint of compassion behind the chaos, as if the writers are using this story not just for drama, but to explore how trauma splinters identity and how healing can mean facing the darkest corners of your mind. Still, this is the Young and the Restless, where the word, subtle, is always paired with a soap-slapping twist. Which brings us to the juicier possibility. The wildcard, could Victor be behind it all? It wouldn't be Y&R without a good old-fashioned Newman conspiracy theory. After all, Victor has meddled with minds before, remember the hypnosis fiascos? The secret files, the conveniently timed, therapy, sessions. What if this isn't a psychological breakdown, but a manufactured one? Fans are already speculating that Victor's shadow looms large over the storyline. Maybe he's using some high-tech experimental treatment gone wrong. Maybe he's covering up a secret family member, or an imposter planted to destabilize the Newman dynasty from within. And with Victor recently acting extra mysterious, even for Victor, the timing couldn't be more suspicious. When asked in a cryptic teaser what he thought of people pretending to be someone they're not, Victor simply smirked and said, "In Genoa City, that's called Tuesday." Cue thunderclap, cue dramatic organ sting, cue millions of fans clutching their remote controls like rosaries. The suspects, who's losing themselves? Alright, let's break down the top suspects in this identity crisis of the ages. 1. Lily Winters, calm, collected, and corporate savvy. But lately, she's been slipping, missing calls, zoning out mid-conversation, snapping at loved ones. Could her recent losses have fractured something inside? 2. Adam Newman, always the wild card. He's haunted by guilt, obsessed with redemption, and constantly wrestling his darker impulses. If anyone's psyche were ripe for a split, it's Adam's. 3. Sharon Newman, a history of mental health struggles, a compassionate soul, and an eerie calm lately that's too calm. Fans are wondering if Sharon's inner strength is masking a deeper, divided storm. 4. Claire Grace, the newcomer with a traumatic past. The show has gone out of its way to remind viewers of her emotional scars. Could her picture-perfect recovery be hiding a second, fractured identity waiting to resurface? And finally, the wildest theory floating around fan circles. 5. Someone who doesn't even exist yet. A twin, a clone, a forgotten alter ego reawakened by trauma. You know, classic soap stuff. The emotional core, more than a twist. What makes this story so gripping isn't just the who, or the what, it's the why. The Young and the Restless has always been at its best when it dives deep into the emotional undercurrents that power its characters, the guilt, grief, and longing that drive them to the edge. This potential split personality arc is, at its heart, about identity. About how trauma shapes us. About how we wear different masks to survive. One insider hinting at the arc said the writing team was interested in what happens when someone finally meets the version of themselves they've been running from. That line alone, chills. Imagine Sharon staring into a mirror and realizing she doesn't recognize the reflection. Imagine Adam hearing a voice in his head that isn't his, yet somehow is. Imagine Lily uncovering journal entries written in her own handwriting, but by someone else entirely. That's not just soap opera melodrama, that's existential horror wrapped in Emmy-worthy storytelling. The fan reactions, from shock to sympathy. Soap Twitter is a glorious mix of chaos and compassion right now. One fan wrote, "I thought this was another corporate war plot. Nope, this is Fight Club meets Phyllis Summers having a nervous breakdown. I'm shook." Another chimed in, "If this is Sharon's story, give Sharon Case every award known to mankind. She's making me cry, scream, and theorize all at once." Even longtime critics of the show are praising its boldness. After years of recycled romantic triangles and predictable revenge plots, Y&R feels alive again, unpredictable, psychological, and deeply human. The bleep moment. What's coming next? We know how this works, there's always a Friday cliffhanger. A moment that makes the internet collectively yell, what the actual bleep just happened? And if the whispers from backstage are true, that moment is coming fast. Picture it, the camera pans in on our mystery character. They're alone, they're trembling, they look in the mirror, and the reflection smiles back when they don't. The reflection speaks, "You really thought you could get rid of me?" Cut to black, cue the gasps, cue the OMGs, cue the social media meltdown. Why it matters, the power of identity in a changing soap world. The Young and the Restless is daring to do something rare for daytime, it's turning the lens inward. Instead of villains and vixens, it's exploring the self as the battleground. The idea that sometimes, the person sabotaging your life isn't your enemy, it's you. It's the most relatable kind of horror, the kind that hides behind a smile, a routine, a perfectly curated life. And in a time when audiences are craving deeper emotional storytelling, this could be the twist that redefines the next era of Genoa City. The bottom line, we're not in Kansas or Crimson Lights anymore. Something seismic is happening on The Young and the Restless. It's eerie, it's empathetic, it's edge of your sofa stuff. Whether it's a true split personality, a secret twin, or an elaborate Victor Newman psychological chess game, one thing's clear, Genoa City will never be the same after this. Because once the line between who you are and who you could be starts to blur, there's no going back. So buckle up, soap fans. Brew your strongest coffee. The identity crisis of the ages is about to explode, and when it does, one question will echo through every living room in America.